product provided by Nintendo/Bergsol. Pokémon is what you see, is what you get. Players can expect a 20+ hour journey with plenty of story beats, monster catching, and a new twist or two to keep the gameplay fresh. Legends Arceus broke new ground for the series by making the fights feel interactive and focusing more on exploring. Now the second entry in the Legends series has hit the mark, and it takes even a bigger leap forward towards action-type Pokémon gameplay. It is a well-crafted entry, though not without a misstep too, or maybe even more. But we'll get them. So welcome to this brutally honest review by Dan and Conrads. Pokémon Legends ZA, including the Switch 2 edition, takes place in Lumiose City, the Pokémon equivalent of Paris, which is naturally located in the Kalos region of Gen 6. It is here that you arrive in town and quickly come into contact with either Urbain or Tony. They convince you to join Team MZ, both to compete in the ZA Royale tournament, but also to keep the city safe from raging mega Pokémon. It doesn't take long to see that there are some mysterious forces at play. The city is becoming more populated with Pokémon, including rogue Mega Evolved monsters that pop up more often, and most of the factions are aligned in keeping Lumiose City safe. That doesn't mean that there isn't adversity in Pokémon Legends ZA, but it is all moving towards the same bigger goal. Since this is a little bit different of a Pokémon game, there's a kindness, both built out of hope and fear. The citizens want to move forward and build up a broken city from scratch. And yes, the events of Pokémon X and Y still clearly linger, even years after. Naturally, it would have been nice to hear that being said out loud. It was a complaint before, and certainly is one now. Your protagonist doesn't speak, so it really wouldn't hurt a projection upon yourself. Plus, it would have given the second half of ZA a lot more weight. Because let us tell you, oh boy, this game is going places. Final hours of the second entry of Pokémon Legends is peak storytelling, building upon the finals that only these games can deliver. There are a lot of ripple effects and ways you can take it. That makes it oh so wonderful. From a gameplay standpoint, Pokémon Legends ZA feels like a massive shift in makeup and perspective. To start though, let's chat a bit about the map. Like we mentioned before, the game takes place in Lumiose City, which isn't a particularly spectacular location. Simply put, you move through the streets, across the roofs, and even in the sewers. There is some versatility, but certainly to a lesser extent than previous mainline Pokémon games. The game does try to levitate this with the so-called wild zones, but those are specs in an otherwise European-inspired city. Another area of contention is that the game insists on telling you that the game is changing from day to night and vice versa. It breaks the flow of the game just a teensy bit. That is not to say that Lumiose City is void of charm, which is absolutely not the case. As you grow through the game, these wild zones expand across the map. The end total is actually quite impressive, allowing you to catch different Pokémon within each one. And they also have their unique feats, as one could be ground-type monsters, while another could be covered in snow and filled with Bergmites and Delibirds. The Alpha Pokémon, originally found in Legends Arceus, also make a return for some close encounters. Each portion has a completion percentage and it is easy to keep track if you have gotten everything in a particular area. Plus, there are plenty of roaming Pokémon outside the wild zones, making you pay attention around every possible corner. Yes, there could be some shinies hiding here and there. And apart from that, there are plenty of incentives to engage with the Pokédex portion of Pokémon Legends ZA. Mabel, the supervising director at the Pokémon Laboratory, gives you a variety of missions that earn you points and level ups. Each level up rewards you with TMs or useful items that can help to strengthen your team. For example, all the type variety punches can be found through this method, making your physical Pokémon have a quick edge in combat. This is the most enthralled we felt about completing all possible entries in the dex. It is a fun process, and you even get rewarded for tasks that have nothing to do with the dex itself, but interacting with the various environments, which is a lot of fun. What helps is that the Pokémon variety is strong in Legends ZA. Usually we don't find ourselves changing the team often. We usually stick to what we want to use, all in the goal of getting the game completed. Due to the fact that only certain Pokémon can Mega Evolve, while others are inherently useful, there was plenty of reason to hop into the boxes and swap them out. Another great thing is that there's very little filler in Pokémon Legends ZA. The developers focus on the Pokémon that are useful, allowing you to think around the strategies for the other ones available. What is curious, mind you, is that you can get more starters than you likely know what to do with. Some of these starters are obtained through side missions, and the side missions here are far better than in Arceus. Not particularly in the sense of objectives, but it doesn't feel stuck in its ways. There are still collection missions, or objectives where you show a particular Pokémon, but you will trade and battle a bit more in ZA than you would previously. There are also some quirky objectives once in a while, like guiding a bunch of Trubbish to a safe place for them to consume garbage. Speaking of battles, let's get into them. Pokémon Legends ZA is definitely not a turn-based game. This is a huge step away from what Game Freak has done in the past, even within the context of Legends Arceus. The trainer and the Pokémon try to position themselves and use attacks without the need of PP. Instead, the attacks work on a cooldown timer, which is dependent on the attack you're using. You can't constantly spam hard-hitting attacks, and the move pool requires variety to keep your winning ways intact, making for a dynamic way to overcome foes and trainers alike. Just like the recent games, you can swap learn moves on a whim, allowing you to adapt across the different battles. That adaptability leads to two different elements that are crucial to the game's progression: the ZA Royale and Rogue Mega Pokémon. In the ZA Royale, trainers take on a variety of opponents to earn points and medals. Points eventually lead you to a challenger's ticket with which you can earn yourself a promotion by fighting a stronger opponent, while medals can be exchanged into currency and will be multiplied by how many trainers you fought during that evening's ZA Royale. Just like Arceus, you can also sneak up and catch your opponent completely off guard. It is an energetic piece of content of which we can't get enough. Fighting the Rogue Mega Pokémon is a different ballgame entirely. As you approach a Mega Pokémon, you're pulled into an area where you freely move 360 degrees. Together with your Pokémon, you will attack the rogue monster with the most effective attacks possible. By doing so, they will drop Mega Energy, which you will have to collect. You will attack with your own Mega Pokémon and subdue the opponent as quickly as you possibly can. Spread across two phases, the Pokémon will try to attack you or your Pokémon partner, forcing you to run or avoid. There are chances to stop the rogue Pokémon in their tracks, and yes, it is rather crucial to do so. Using your own Mega Pokémon is so much fun in this game. Not only will they move freely in the 3D space, they really pop on the screen. What helps here is that the new Mega Pokémon are mostly really well designed and fit among the existing offerings. Your Mega Evolutions run on an energy bar, so timing this during a regular battle is everything. Considering how quick the battle system is in Pokémon Legends ZA, it is very likely you will knock Pokémon out in a short amount of time. And if you overrun, you can put the Mega Pokémon back into its ball and use the last bit of energy for your next fight. In terms of difficulty, it is very close to Pokémon Legends Arceus. There were a few times where we knocked out, but that mostly came down due to pure greed. 3 hits and your trainer is out cold. The ZA Royale, outside of promotion battles, was never a real challenge though, but it was just a lot of fun to go through the motions. What is also impressive is how it breaks certain ideas that Pokémon had for years, both for better or worse. On the worse end, there isn't a bigger world out there to explore. Not even the outer rim of Lumio City is ripe for exploration. Game Freak stood their ground and made it clear. This is a city-first experience. Flipside-wise, the positives are everywhere to see, from dynamic battles to better missions. There's a lot to enjoy. We are particularly fond of the fact that Pokémon do not immediately disappear when you defeat them. When it comes to the visuals of Pokémon Legends ZA, a lot has been said before the release. Now, with the answer in our hands, is it as bad as the opinion of some people? Both yes and no. Yes, the buildings are flat, but that is due to the Nintendo Switch version of the game. If it was a Switch 2 exclusive, we may have had 3D balconies and windows. At the same time, the rest of the game looks surprisingly good, since this is a far more expressive Pokémon title when it comes to animations and cutscenes. But we can't get away from the fact that the walled biome lacks variety, specifically in the landscapes, as the wild zones are just like the city itself, flat. It stands in stark contrast to any 3D Pokémon generation title, including X and Y. it would have greatly benefited ZA to have at least some areas outside the city, as this setup gets mundane and also to some degree artificial in certain of the wild areas. And it really does feel like the variety and landscapes are being saved for the paid Mega Dimension DLC. And that is a shame, as this lack of natural breaks from big metropolis does drag down the experience quite a bit. The level metropolis would have been fine if we had some more varied landscapes to play with, both on the inside and outside of its walls. Sadly, this is simply not the case. And the only saving grace are the rooftops, but they are also quite repetitive. So with all this in mind, our final score for Pokémon Legends ZA on Nintendo Switch 2 has to be a little lower than what we gave Pokémon Legends Arceus back in 2022. We really wish we could have given a higher score. With the highlighted drawbacks, ZA simply isn't exactly on the same level as Arceus. That is the brutally honest truth. But what are your thoughts about Pokémon Legends ZA? Are you picking it up, or are you waiting for the big leap that Pokémon Gen 10 hopefully will deliver? If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell.